Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'll be brief. I'll just jump to the point of what we're doing and how SEO works for apps. The history of our company is that we actually were app developers, and we launched an app um, about 15 months ago. We gathered a bunch of data, and based on that data, we were recommending the most awesome apps that you could download. And the product got lots of great feedback from end users, very high reviews or high ratings. But as with most developers, we had an impossible time getting any distribution. So we struggled for a bit, and then it occurred to us that, listen, if we could use the data that we have to help other developers, that we might be actually, assisting a whole bunch of entrepreneurs who are struggling in distribution like us. So that was the genesis of SearchMan. So first, the landscape of what's going on. There's about 800,000 apps now on iOS, and we scrape all of that. And I think that, since the iPhone started about 5 years ago, a lot of developers have been managing their distribution by managing their category rankings. And it's a very well-oiled machine. People understand how much they need to spend on advertising, how they need to grow their rankings. And everything was going well until, let's say, last summer or so with the advent of iOS 6. And with iOS 6, a whole bunch of things changed. But in summary, I think a lot of developers understood that they now had two jobs as a marketer. One was to manage rankings, and one was to manage search rankings. And that was kind of good for our business. And I think it's the beginning of a longer-term trend. So what changed exactly? Just a quick recap. Categories used to be in iOS 5 up top in the main menu, but with the iOS 6 rollout, it was replaced by something called charts, and categories was tucked away and hidden. Then the other thing that changed was the user experience itself. It used to be in iOS 6 that you could click categories, then select your category, and get to a whole long list of cool apps. And so it was 3 taps to get to a category ranked app. But with iOS 6, actually, that became quite a bit more cumbersome, about twice as hard. You'd need to click charts, then categories, then select the category. Then you would need to see all. And once you click see all, that's when you finally get a list of apps. So that's kind of like reduced distribution quite a bit for the categories part of the App Store. The other thing that happened was that, on the main menu, while categories got the axe, search very much maintained its position. And a new thing called Genius was launched. And I don't know if you use Genius to discover your music. I have been unable to, so I'm not quite clear on exactly where Genius is going to go. But it feels to us like search has a permanent home on the front page of the store. This is the same slide that was just presented, but we're pretty motivated by search, and we think that longer term, that's what's going to happen, pretty much for the whole user base. And actually, we've all seen this happen before. If you're as old as I am and you've been around and playing with the internet sites for a bit, you know that the business used to be oriented around a directory-based business called Yahoo. And then after a while, people started to search for very detailed keywords to find exactly what they wanted. And we think that the same thing is going to happen on the smartphones for the longer term and for all mobile devices. But there's a problem with this iOS 6 search focus that emerged when they rolled out their new OS. The main problem is that it used to be 25 or so results with one flick of the thumb, one tap to get to app number 25, and with the Chomp acquisition and with the new iOS 6 rollout, essentially you would get one search result per page. So what that meant was that ranking higher in the search results has become much, much more important. And there were a bunch of developers who get discouraged by this because they're like, well, listen, I make a poker app, and how am I supposed to rank number 1? There's so many other large poker applications like Zynga's applications. So we actually found lots of data in our system that actually led us to think that the opportunity is quite big for mid and long-tail developers, indies and mid-sized studios. Basically, when you get one search result per page, users start to get trained and they start to understand that Just by punching in one word, they might get a whole general list of apps, but if they type very specific phrases, they'll get much closer to what they actually wanted much faster. So we think that this is actually an opportunity because, as we've shown here, this data is a bit old, but it applies today for multiple different sets of keywords. That as the users entered longer keywords, they actually get different results. And so under the head keyword of poker, you know, Zynga is number 4, and it probably, number 1, and it's probably still number 1. But if you start to get more descriptive and say you want a poker game which is also a casino game or video poker or any other flavor of poker that you like, you tend to find that the apps that rank high are not necessarily coming from the big studios, but they're often coming from mid to small size studios. So that's essentially what we think is going to be the future of search on app stores. And we actually think that history is just going to repeat itself. Users get better results when they type in longer keywords. They've already demonstrated that behavior on the web, and longer, keyword phrases right now comprise of 70% of the traffic. The developers who optimize for these will get better rankings, which is good. And the developers who optimize for these, when they get users, theoretically, the users are going to stick longer. And the reason is that they typed in longer, more descriptive keywords. They demonstrated a very strong intent to find an app just like the one that they were looking for. They found the app, they downloaded it, and we hope that the opportunity or the reason for them to delete is significantly less. And then at a higher level, if you pull back and look at this market in terms of being a war between Apple and Google, Apple actually gets a lot more signal in order to make their search algorithm better if they actually get users to type in longer keyword phrases. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody with longer keyword phrases, and we think that's where the market's going to go. So in summary, I think lots of different experts agree that search is important. Many would say that it's more important than advertising or category ranking. And I thought I would take the next few slides and show you very quickly how our tool set works. We currently we launched about 7 months ago. We are now at about 8,000 developers. And as I was saying earlier, we crunch a lot of data. We crunch, basically in quotes, download the entire App Store every day. We look at 800,000 apps, and we look at their app names and descriptions, and we break all those up into keyword tokens, forming a library of about 1 million keywords. And then we query the App Store for those million keywords every single day, and pull down the top search rankings for all of those keywords. And we do this now for 3 countries, the US, the UK, and Japan. We started with the richest markets, I guess, in the world. And interestingly, iPhone and iPad results are different. So we get actually all that data times 2. We're now almost in the last 5%, I guess, of rolling out Android. So if we're able to do that this week, great. Otherwise, it'll be Monday. But essentially, we have found a way to do this for another 800,000 apps in the Android marketplace, so that the developers who we're talking to and who we're working with can optimize across both app stores easily. So to show you how our tool works, it's pretty simple. You don't need an SDK or anything to get started. You just sign up for free. You look for your app by searching for it, and then you add that app to your portfolio. And once it's in your portfolio, you select that app, and you select it by country because the search data is different by country. So the site is basically used for 2 things. One is to track performance, and one is to actually implement keyword improvements. So first, let me talk about how users are currently tracking their performance. So the most popular feature that we have that everybody's default homepages is the visibility score page. And essentially, this is a mathematical computation we figured out, and it summarizes an app's overall search discoverability every day. And it summarizes your app's discoverability, and it compares your app to stated competitors that you have, so you can understand how you're trending. These little, I hope you can see them, these little stars here are app update dates. And you can see actually sort of before and after update what actually happened. And there's complicated math behind this, but if I was to simplify it, essentially we take a keyword that your app is ranked for, and we look at the volume of that keyword, or the probable volume of that keyword. And then depending on the ranking, we discount that volume for accessibility. And so you can see here with iPhone, with one app per page, or one app per search results page, we assume that each page is about 10% 10% less accessible than the page before. But with iPad, we have about 6 results per page. And so actually, you know, even if you have to get to page 5 and you're ranked at number 30, accessibility of an app in iPad is significantly greater than the same rank 30 that you would see on iPhone right now. So visibility score, as I said, is our most popular feature because it gives you a quick summary. But many developers go into more granular detail, and there's a section called keywords graphs where you can actually see every single one of your keywords and how you're ranking and how it's trending. So you can look at your performance by keywords. And then you can also measure your performance against competing apps. And here, basically, we track each keyword and we present a head-to-head comparison of that keyword for your app versus your competitor. And generally, the system allows you to store 10 competitors, and so you're tracking not only yourself, but your competitors. The idea of the site, you do research across all the data we present. You're building a sandbox or we call it Notepad, but a short list of keywords that you would use in your next app update. So here, what we've done is that, you know, when you're checking your stats against competitors, and if you click the compare button, then you can see exactly how you stack up against your competitor keyword by keyword. You might discover keywords here that your competitor is using that seem attractive to you. And then if you click this add keyword to Notepad, then we kind of store it for you so that whenever you're ready to update your app, we can prioritize that keyword for you and tell you how well it will do for you. So that kind of summarizes how you know, developers use our site to track their performance. And typically, we're seeing about 10 to 15 minutes a day per app is what, you know, time spent usually is for our developers who come in to track their performance. And then there's this once a month or once in, you know, 3 to 5 weeks effort of updating your app. And when you update your app, you're typically updating with either giant new features or bug fixes. And that's when, you know, you have a good opportunity to execute new keywords. So let me just cover how to do that in the next couple of slides. So the first thing you do is you go to this section called Get New Keywords. And here we take essentially all of your candidate keywords. We expand the bucket of potential keywords. And there's a bunch of different candidates here. One is the keywords that we found in your public app name and descriptions. The second is the iTunes, the secret iTunes keywords that you would have submitted to Apple. We ask, it's optional, but we ask you to copy paste it here so we can include it in our analysis. And the third is that we look at everything you've added to your Notepad, and we also look at every single keyword that your competing apps have that are missing from your current keywords. And you are able to add all of that very quickly with one click, and thereby create a pretty exhaustive list of potential keywords. Then we take all of those keywords and we analyze them, and we prioritize them mathematically by efficiency. So keyword efficiency is a sort of a theory that a lot of people use for web SEO, but essentially it outlines a keyword's ability to drive traffic to you, or in this case, to your download page in the App Store. So the most efficient keywords, and the ones you will already pre-assign to your, the next sort of keyword up to about 100 characters, will assign to your iTunes. This concept only works.
Sorry, for some reason the sound is not very good right now. Let me just try to go on mute, see if it gets better. Go ahead and I'll go on mute.
Hi, can you hear me better? Hello?
Yeah, it seems to be slightly better, so I'll go on mute and go on. I'll stop you if it's get bad again, yeah?
Great, done. So yeah, I was saying that we prioritize the keywords by app name, iTunes, and descriptions. In the case of Android, there is no concept of iTunes keywords. So, vast majority of the who are who don't have big data, will just take this, copy paste these keywords, and then include it in their new push. But then you also have the opportunity down below to veto our recommendations, and you can actually select which keywords you want to sort of